Alright, this is the actual chart here, but it was way too much for the thumbnail. Before we dive in though, just want to let you know that knowingly exploiting a bug or glitch to your benefit is against the terms of service and can get you banned. With that said, everything in this video has been patched. The ore glitch. On October 6, 2025, during the Get Ready for Ranked update, a bug caused the newly revamped Revenges to award players with tons of ores. Now, many players would stumble across this bug by accident, just trying to do the regular old Revenges, but others caught on to the fact that every time you revenge the person, you get more and more ores, and you could easily exploit this to max your hero equipment. And for a few hours that day, many would indeed max their equipment. Eventually later that day, the game went into maintenance and the bug was patched. No one got banned for it, but all the ores that were obtained through the exploit were rolled back, resulting in many players with negative ore balances for the first time in ore existence history. Due to the bug and the mess that it caused, a free ore bundle was put in the shop for everyone to claim. However, during this time there was also another bug where if you got ores from the daily bonus or purchased some from the shop, your negative balance would disappear, essentially wiping your debt. In the end, the result was that some had negative ore balances while others got away scot-free. X-ray mode. No one actually called it X-ray mode, I think, but this is referring to an exploit that involved tampering with the game files to see traps in people's bases. This did not require a third-party software. All you had to do was swap the file that handled traps with an edited one so that untriggered traps always appeared visible. I can't show you footage of how exactly you did it, but it really was as simple as copying and pasting. This was possible for years, and during this time people actually sold the file, but by late 2015, people were just throwing it in the video's description. Here you go. Eventually, too many players caught on to it, and this will be patched in 2016 when Supercell simply changed how the game handled untriggered trap animations, and so that was the end of that. It's unknown if anyone got banned for this specifically, as during 2016 there were also some mass ban waves for the use of third-party softwares, so it got tangled up in that whole mess. Ghosting. Between April 2014 and April 2015, there was a pretty popular exploit called ghosting where you would attack a base without the game actually counting that attack. It was also commonly referred to as sandbox mode or the airplane mode hack. It was actually around way before this, but it picked up steam with the release of Clan Wars. Essentially, during this time, Clan Wars was set up in a way where if you hit attack, you had 30 seconds to spectate that base, like a regular multiplayer attack. And you could back out if you wanted to, if you changed your mind. As long as you didn't drop a troop, it didn't count. But players quickly found a way to exploit this. By entering the battle and putting their device on airplane mode, they could attack the base and check for traps and see how the attack would play out, all while the game had no idea that was going on. And they could repeat this as many times as they wanted. From the outside, initially it looked like your base was being attacked, but then it canceled out with no attack being registered. In April 2015, they would add the attack screen where you could make sure you had your army ready, and once you hit attack, you were locked in, effectively putting an end to this exploit. No one was banned for abusing this exploit. Well, except for Masterov, which showed the exploit on a YouTube video and was banned from uploading Clash of Clans content altogether. 95% discount. In December 2018, players that were familiar with how the game files of the game work discovered that there was some disabled shop offers and that they could re-enable those. One of these was the one where you could buy 5,000 gems for $3. This offer was disabled for higher town halls, but what they would do was go into the game files and enable that pack, then buy it and re-enable it as many times as they wanted. Essentially buying an unlimited amount of gems had a massive 95% discount. This exploit was patched fairly quick. I'm not sure exactly when, but it seems the only occurrence of this was in December 2018. It's unknown if anyone was banned for this. Spawn hack. Sometime in 2015, a player in a clan called D-Nation discovered a way to increase the spawn rate of the gem box. Now, at the time, gem boxes didn't really spawn every week like they do today. It was more like every 10 to 20 days. So a way to shorten that time was pretty awesome. The way this worked is that when a gem box spawned in your village, for the next 48 hours you'd remove obstacles that spawned after the gem box did, and then finally remove it at the end of those 48 hours. If you followed these steps for some reason, your next gem box would spawn faster, like a couple hours later or the next day. With this method, you could basically guarantee yourself a gem box every week and sometimes more, which was way better than the 10 to 20 day wait. It's unknown why this worked, but all that mattered was that it worked, and it was pretty cool. Not many players knew about this because D Nation was keeping it a secret, but in September 2015, a YouTuber by the name Clash with Ash would reveal it to the public. This seems to have been patched sometime in late 2016, and of course, no one was banned for this simple trick. The Clan War League glitch. In late 2023, there was a major flaw in the Clan War League system that allowed players to be signed up for multiple of them. Now, it's unclear what exactly the steps were and why it worked, but apparently all you had to do was search for a clan, and as soon as you saw your clan's current league badge show up, you cancel the search. However, there was a problem with the game going through with that canceling, so you'd be in a Clan War League without technically being signed up for one. So you could go sign up for another one and go repeat this over and over. Most players who were exploiting this bug were participating in about 2 or 3 clans, but some determined players were doing well over a dozen at a time. This meant that not only were they getting a boatload of resources and ores, but also a crap ton of Clan War League medals, like between 2,000 and 4,000 a month, depending on how much grass they were willing to touch. Surprisingly, this went on for a few months before Supercell caught on or acted, and it was then patched in the March 2024 update. There were no known rollbacks or bans for abusing this exploit. Unlimited trophies. In the early morning of December 19, 2024, Clash Clans would enter a typical maintenance break that aimed to fix several bugs present at the time. But when players finally had access to the game, they would discover another pretty gnarly bug affecting the trophy count system. Essentially, every time you hit the attack button, you would get the trophies from the base you were looking at. Yeah, just looking at the base is all it took. You didn't need to drop a troop or anything, just searching for a base would do. But even more messed up was hitting next forever, looking for some insane loot and ending up in Legends League all of a sudden. Now, most players ran into this issue by accident, but some did catch on to what was causing it and took the opportunity to hit all kinds of trophy records to claim free gems from those achievements. Just under 2 hours later though, they would go into an emergency maintenance to fix the trophy system, which lasted 4 hours, one of the longest maintenance break in Clash history. No one was banned and no rollbacks occurred, it was just a goofy mistake. The 306 bug. This bug gets its name from the fact that in a regular clan capper weekend facing a clan with 50 members, there are typically 300 attacks, right? But in some cases, that number was up to 306. This was caused by an exploit that allowed 51 or more participants in a single raid weekend, thus netting that clan more trophies over the other clans. This was an exploit used to gain a competitive advantage in the clan capital leaderboards. Just today I found out that people actually care about that. It first appeared in December 2023, and the most logical explanation is that there used to be a common bug that allowed 51 members by 2 players joining a clan at the exact same time. However, it was fairly difficult to replicate, and you just had to get lucky. The 306 bug was patched in early 2024 before it ever became a significant problem, and no one was banned for it. Unlimited gems. On the 1st of June 2014, a bug seemingly popped out of nowhere where gem spending wasn't properly tracked. During this time, players would be playing the game as normal and maybe spend a gem or 2 finishing an upgrade or buying a builder hut, but then noticed that when they got back online not long after, the gems were back. But whatever they had spent those gems on was still there. Nothing was being rolled back. For about 4 hours that morning, players basically had unlimited gems. You could go crazy, spend it, reload the game, and do it again. And if you wanted to do some insane progress, buying a pack of gems wasn't a bad idea. A $20 pack could get you really far. But Supercell quickly caught on and patched the bug. For a while, it didn't seem like anything was going to happen. Hours and days had gone by and no one was banned or had any progress rolled back. However, 5 days later on June 6, a maintenance would occur that morning where everyone who had exploited the bug got their progress reverted back to the morning before the bug occurred, essentially losing 6 days worth of progress. As you can see in this example, a player got attacked by what seems like a max Talonhold 9 with level 30 heroes, but when you visited the base, he didn't have those level 30 heroes. No one got banned. In fact, affected players were given 2,000 gems due to the fact that they had to roll back that entire week. So there was some legitimate progress that they had to redo. Faster hero upgrades. Starting in November 25th, 2024, when they added the Hero Hall to the game, players noticed a bit of an odd interaction with the Hero Hall and the Apprentice Builder. If you had heroes being upgraded in the Hero Hall whilst the Hero Hall itself was being upgraded, and you assign the Apprentice Builder to it, not only would the Hero Hall upgrade go faster, but also all of the hero upgrades. Now, of course, most players ran into this by total accident and probably didn't even notice. I mean, how many times are you upgrading your Hero Hall anyway, right? However, there was a small number of players who got the idea that if you keep upgrading the Hero Hall and canceling it, you can exploit this. And they did. Of course, there were many limitations with this exploit, so it wasn't that crazy, but it did allow you to upgrade your heroes way faster depending on the level of your apprentice. This would be patched in February 2025, and nothing happened to those who used this neat little trick. Infinite snack timers. September 2024 was probably the buggiest month in Clash history, but luckily, none of it could be defined as exploitable, except for the new magic snacks. On September 11th, when the first treasure hunt began, players noticed that when you activated a timed snack like the Study Soup, Builder Bite, or Clan Castle Cake, if you went offline before the timer reset, it would start over, thus having a snack that never expired. Now, keep in mind, this was really buggy, so for some players, this wasn't actually doing anything, so there wasn't anything to gain here, but for others, it did. Now, most players would end up doing this by accident, but some players did try to exploit this since they learned how to keep it active for as long as they wanted. Just 2 days later, on September 13th, a maintenance break would fix this bug, and in the end, it was just seen as a goofy mistake on Supercell's part. Unlimited war attacks. Similar to ghosting, there was also another way to sandbox or practice your attacks all the way back in 2015, but this one was a little bit more involved and actually let you do the entire attack. Essentially, what players were doing was going into the game files and changing the movement speed of one troop, like a barbarian for example, and then they would start the battle, and if the attack wasn't going to plan, or if they wanted to start over, they'd deploy that edited troop, and it would cause the game to desync and not count that attack as completed. This wasn't commonly known outside of the competitive scene. People were actually selling this information for a lot of money, but eventually word spread and it was patched by the end of the year. Out of sync exploit. On June 15, 2014, many leaderboard players were experiencing what they believed was a really annoying bug where the game would display an out-of-sync error after dropping a single troop on a base, and that's what caused them to lose the attack. This was a pretty big deal. Players were losing weeks worth of trophies in just a few minutes. Something wasn't right. Well, as it turns out, this was a combination of a lot of things, and unfortunately, some of it is still unknown, but we do know quite a bit. A leaderboard player at the time named Kemal was banned for 16 days for abusing what he referred to as a glitch in the servers, where you would go online while someone was attacking you and that would kick them out and they would lose. But come on, that normally doesn't happen. What do you mean? Obviously, there was more to the story that he wasn't sharing, because another upload would surface on YouTube of a guy named Owls Babar who seemed to be running Vincent Dog's account, another leaderboard player. Owls would show that when Vincent was being attacked, he would use a software called iMod on another account to initiate a sandbox attack on Vincent. And after dropping a single troop, he got an out-of-sync error and he reloads the game. Then, over on Vincent's account, it magically lets him back into the game, showing that he won that defense. But there was also something else that was missing. Kemal had explained that there was a glitch in the servers that they were exploiting. And he may have been right. In Alsbabar footage, he drops a barbarian in an open compartment. A Reddit user would later discover that there was normally a wizard tower in that spot, but every time someone attacked Vincent, that wizard tower was magically missing. Perhaps the glitch in the server was a way to hide defenses, causing an out-of-sync error for anyone who touched the base. About a day later, on June 16, a maintenance would patch the exploit. This time, many were banned for this, though just temporarily. No defenses. In October 2024, there was a player named White Darkness, also known as Ordinary Hero after changing his name, who was caught abusing a glitch where somehow the trophies lost from defenses he took that day weren't counting until the next day. And since this was the very last day of the season, he was able to climb hundreds of positions, allowing him to finish the season off in the top 20. White Darkness had glitched his way to the top positions. In fact, he had done this for the previous 5 seasons. Unfortunately, though this bug was very real, it was never revealed how he was pulling this off. Well, I guess that's good, so people didn't replicate it. The bug was patched before the year wrapped up, and to my knowledge, he was never banned. Clan War spying. In July 2020, it was discovered that you could get around the game's anti-spy preventions by simply going into your Clan Wars log, tapping on the last war. Then, when you were in the map, there would be a button to view the current war, allowing you to see all of the current war layouts and clan counts or troops. This is known as spying, when you go into an opponent's war clan to gather information and take it back to your home clan to gain a competitive advantage. It should have been fixed by now. This was pretty common back in the day, but with this bug, you could easily still do it. It wasn't that big of a deal though, as competitive clans where it mattered the most don't let random people in anyways. So yeah, it was patched in October of that year. Legend ghosting. This was a different method of ghosting that was used by leaderboard players from mid-2019 when the Legends League rework was introduced, all the way until early 2020. Basically, what they would do is hit the find a match button and turn off their Wi-Fi at the same time. This allowed them to view the next base they were going to attack while it not registering as an attack. From the defender's point of view, you could see the players doing this as the attack would start and you could view it, but then it would lose connection and disappear as if it never happened. The reason they were doing this was to take a picture of the base, as normally you don't know what the base looks like until you attack it. So they would take that screenshot to practice. They'd build the base in a private server and practice 3-starring that layout. So when it finally came time to actually attack it, they knew exactly what to do. For this specific exploit, there were no known players who were banned. Double clock tower boost. Alright, this one is on the lighter side of things since it only helped you max faster in the builder base. But essentially what this secret hack was is that you activated a clock tower boost and a clock tower potion at the same time. The potion would also speed up the cooldown timer on the clock tower, so after the potion was done, you'd have another boost waiting for you. This was discovered sometime in 2019, and for a while players silently used this trick. However, word started to spread, and as usual, it then got patched. This happened in October 19th of that year. Impossible base. On December 9th, 2019, an update allowed you to finally place decorations outside the village boundaries. However, there was a major oversight with this new mechanic. Because you could now place decorations in those areas and you could easily swap buildings and decorations, well, players found out that you could make impossible bases by swapping the buildings outside the playable area, thus making a base that normally wasn't possible. But it wasn't just a weird base, it allowed you to have a base where it was impossible to attack because there was no deployable area. So players were forced to skip your base. You couldn't be attacked and you could save your loot. No one could attack you to steal your loot. It was pretty awesome, not gonna lie. According to the community manager at the time, this was definitely a bannable offense for anyone who was doing it. Though, because it was patched within just a few hours, no one was banned. Stacking buildings. This is finding a way to stack buildings onto each other so that you have multiple buildings in one spot, effectively consolidating your defenses so that you can have a stronger core or stacking multiple storages to protect them better. Most of the glitches were possible because of the village edit mode. You would just switch things until something clicked. I don't know, it was pretty random. It makes you wonder how they even discovered it, And most of the time it was just visual only. It didn't actually save that way, it just looked that way. But throughout history, there were times when it did work in real battles. Fortunately, there doesn't seem to be any time where this became a major problem though, and that's thanks to the public nature of it all. If someone ran into your base like that, you could easily get reported and banned. Instant training. During the May 2016 update where they revamped the training UI, there was a glitch that allowed players to train troops instantly by simply dragging troops. A similar glitch would also appear later that year with another training UI revamp, this time by tricking the UI into swapping the training time with another troop so that they could train a golem with the training time of a barbarian, for example. These glitches aren't usually considered exploits, as being able to train troops faster in Clash of Clans doesn't really provide a real advantage. However, it did for leaderboard pushing. Up there, every second you spent training a troop was considered wasted time that you could have spent clouding instead. And armies took well over an hour, so players were often gemming their armies to get ahead faster or just using this glitch. But obviously, no one was banned for this. It was pretty harmless for the most part. Engineering. Engineering was an old practice in Clash that came about ever since Clan Wars were added in April 2014. Basically, the way Clan Wars used to work is that you'd get paired with an opponent with a similar war weight as you, and how that was determined was the level of your defenses, or if you had them for that matter. So players figured out that if you don't build some of the defenses, you'd be matched up with a lower level opponent. But because you could max out your army without affecting your war weight, you'd basically guarantee yourself an opponent that you could 3-star every single time. Because it gave you and your clan a competitive advantage, this was often frowned upon and was seen as cheating, and by definition, intentional use of a bug, glitch, or any unforeseen game mechanic to gain an unfair advantage, often in a way that developers didn't intend to, it was also considered an exploit. Hey, I didn't make that up. Over the years, they did make some changes to the matchmaking to curb these tactics, but it wasn't until the Town Hall 12 update in June 2018 where they made it so that moving on to the next Town Hall required all available buildings to be placed first. So yeah, that is every Clash exploit explained. Surely there will be some that I'm not aware of or never became public, but this is everything that I could find after researching for days on end, and some that I just remember from way back when. I hope you guys enjoyed, but hey, before you go, YouTube thinks you'll like this next video, so hey, check it out. As always, see you guys on the next one. Peace!